Okay. Oh. everyone. We'll just check all the audio and the internet before we formally start. Oh dear. Maybe 1 week, once a month, the internet provider will decide to not play with the internet connection. Oh, the music is loud. I'm so sorry. Right, let me turn that down. That's probably too quiet now. Let's see. How about there? Is that music still a bit loud? Just waiting on the music check, everybody. When I film a video, I can set up everything, prep everything, check everything, but when it's live, we do sometimes have to fiddle with the settings, so bear with me, everybody. I've got Matthew in the chat. Oh, now you're saying you can't hear it. Okay. How about there? Hopefully that's a happy medium. Well, hello everyone. Thank you for sticking with me through yet more technical issues. Welcome to a Millinery book review live stream. This is the 4th episode in this little mini series of book reviews. It's also going to be the last book review live stream for a while until I buy some more new books. Now, before I start reviewing the books, I always like to do a monthly roundup of what's new in my millinery world. And do you know what? Let's start with something a little bit controversial. Let me know in the chat if you think this is controversial or not. Glue in millinery. Glue in millinery. Some people say don't use glue in millinery. Some people say I'll do everything with glue because it's quicker. And then some people fall in the middle, and I used to be in the camp of, oh, no glue ever. And I've recently discovered that if you have a very good quality glue gun, actually for certain things it's quicker. I'm not suggesting that you... What's up, husband? No? Okay, no, everything's fine. I'm not suggesting that you use glue to stick in a Petersham ribbon, because you can do that with thread. I'm suggesting you use glue for things that take a very long time, like sticking feathers to a hat. Glue works great for that. So I've been working on this. This is a hat that I made during the London Hat Week at a class with Carol Ma. If you've watched my previous video, which was a vlog, that would be there. So if I pop that on, I think it looks very nice. Oh, if I can get it straight, that would be good. There we go. It's almost straight. Right, this is a feathered beret, and to make it, I used this glue gun. So if you're looking for a good quality glue gun, the Bosch PKP 18E actually works pretty well. So that's a new discovery. I've also used it on another hat to stick a straw brim to a straw crown. Once again, because it was a seagrass straw, I don't have that one on hand to show you. But if you know what a seagrass straw is, you know that that is a pain to sew, because you poke your needle through the seagrass and it snaps off. So glue gun for seagrass works pretty well. That's that one. So that's the feathered beret. And I also had to kind of make my own block to make the feathered beret work. This is a block made out of foss shape on the top, plaster on the inside, and then under this lip is actually several rows of rope so that I can pin into it, because you can't pin into plaster. And the foss shape by itself is not strong enough to block over, so it's got plaster, foss shape, a couple of bits of wire, and some rope, and you have a hat block. And we'll talk more about this in the next live stream, but I'll announce the next live stream once we finish with the biography book reviews. Sorry everyone, I'm still checking all the settings, just making sure everything is good. Right, what else is new? Ooh, while I was at London Hat Week, there was, bear with me here everyone, there was a Korean food shop near Morley College in Waterloo, and they sell rice flour, which I have put into a jar because it's easier to handle. Now, for my American viewers, when I say rice flour, I mean rice starch. So it's the kind of rice equivalent to cornstarch, but in the UK we call everything flour. So corn flour, rice flour, it's all starch. But essentially, this stuff stiffens better than corn flour does. So if you can get your hands on some rice flour and you're interested in non-chemical stiffening methods for fabrics, this isn't going to work on felt because it's very powdery. So I used this to stiffen the inside of this, which at the moment it's lined so you can't see, but this was a cinema base thing, and it was old cinema that I'd reused off a different hat, so it had completely disintegrated the stiffener by steaming it and reblocking it. I think this is the third time I used this piece of same cinema just to experiment with, and so I've had to line it, but it was covered in the rice flour, which was very powdery, and that works so much better than corn flour. I think I had a video where I tried to make my own Paris net or Dior net, because you can't buy that at the moment, and Paris net and Dior net, it's used for turban foundations. It tends to be stiffened with a starchy substance, starchy carbohydrate substance, and in that video I used corn flour, but now I've got rice flour, and I think that will probably work much better. I've also got Rachel from the YouTube channel Labricaloose in the chat. Hello. She is one of the moderators for today. Rachel says, I'm also in the middle of the road on glue. Dislike it for theatrical hats because we need to often retrim, refurbish those, and glue limits the possibilities with that. Exactly, that's pretty much why I'm not a big fan of glue, but I think with the beauty of sticking the feathers on with the glue gun is that actually you can rip them off very easily, or you can kind of steam them off. So, and the other thing Rachel says is, one caveat when using flour starch as a stiffener, we avoid it in theatrical hats because mice like to eat it, so storage vermin is a concern. Oh, yes, I hadn't thought of that. Yes, that is definitely an issue if you can't control fully your hat environment. Yes, good point. Right. Oh, we're not quite done with my millinery roundup before we start reviewing the books. I ordered a thing on the internet. Here it is, in a box. I am late to the trend, but this is a buntle mat. Hang on. I ripped the box open, but I haven't actually looked at the buntle mat yet. Oh, it's so pretty. I got it in green, one of my favorite colors. I'm very aware that I'm very late to the trend. Everyone this whole summer from about May onwards has been using buntle to make hats, and I am very, very, very late. I'm not sure about these frayed edges. That feels a bit like it will just come apart the second I touch it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I've seen a lot of little boater, sailor, flat pancake type hats made with these, but I've also seen berets made with them, and I am quite enjoying all my beret blocks. I've got a few beret blocks. I'm enjoying using them for various different things, so I might end up with a buntle mat beret. I might just go with the standard sailor thing with the flat brim. I don't know yet. If you have buntle mats, what have you made with them? Let me know, either in the chat if you're watching now, or leave me a comment. I do read all the comments and I do try and respond. Right, so that's the buntle mat. That was exciting. One last exciting thing, and we'll go straight onto the books. I was at the Museum of London yesterday, and if you follow me on Instagram at @Millinery, you will know that I was at the Museum of London yesterday, and we've always got to go into the gift shop when we're in a museum, and I absolutely love postcards. And I bought this delightful postcard. It features hats and cats and political statements. So let's have a quick look at that. Here it is. Look at that. It says, "We demand the vote. Votes for women. It's a cat in a hat." We'll ignore the fact that that's a bird, a full-on Edwardian taxidermy bird on it. That's a bit disgusting, but never mind. And it says, "An advocate for women's rights." I thought this was a really lovely postcard, so I'm excited to add that to my collection. And now I want to make a hat like this and put one on Drusilla, but she won't sit still for long enough for that to happen. Right. So, let me clear everything off the table and get the books out, and we'll jump into the biographies. Bear with me for 1 minute, you might see an advert. Right, I've got lots of exciting stuff here. Where's everyone joining me from today? Just while I sort my books out, let me know where you are from in the chat. I always like to know where people are joining me from. I do have these in a very specific order that I want to share these books with you with, so... Oh. Okay. Sip of tea. Darjeeling today, not the green tea. Right. Milliner biographies. I'm very aware that lots of people might not be as interested in biographies as in technique books and general tutorial books, because that's generally where people's interests lie. People want to know, how do I make this hat? Not necessarily who made this hat. Well, I am very interested in who made the hat, because I think when you know who made the hat, you can try and figure out how their thinking process went. What kind of a person made this hat? What time did they make this hat? What world events might have influenced their design process? And once you can start tapping into that designer brain, you might start to see how you can apply some of those principles of that designer to your work, and thus you won't be making copies, you'll be just understanding what a designer is doing and then applying that to your own methodology or your own times, and then reinterpreting it and creating a completely different hat. So that's why I like to look at biographies, and in general I like to look at history just because I think it's quite fun. So we're going to start today with Balenciaga. So the order of these books isn't chronological like I've been doing in the past. The order of these books is just what I thought would flow a little bit better on stream. Sewing Artist says, "Only recently found you on here and glad to catch a live from Indiana in the USA." Oh, well, hello, welcome. I am in London, in case you don't know that, in case you're new here. So hello to everyone who is new. Right, we're going to start with this book, Balenciaga, The Master of Us All by Mary Bloom. Let's switch cameras because I like to show you how the books look. This is what this book looks like. Okay, this is definitely not my favorite book. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and say this is the worst book I have ever come across. It was so boring. I did not think someone could write in such a boring way. I think, in fact, I only made it through. So because it was quite a cheap book, I started underlining in pencil the interesting stuff to use on my Balenciaga millinery video, which maybe husband, if you could find the Balenciaga millinery video, I think it's a history one, if you could pop that in the chat. If people are interested in history, that's quite a good roundup of Balenciaga's hats. Where did I stop reading this? Oh, clearly I didn't even get to chapter 2 because there's no pencil markings anywhere after chapter 1. I just couldn't make it through it. I'm really sorry. I tried to reread this in preparation for this and for this live stream, and I just couldn't. It's written from interviews. So Mary Bloom did interviews with a lady called Florette Charlotte, who was Balenciaga's first, in France they call it a vendeuse, a sewing assistant. And if you want to know how to spell her name, in case you want to look her up, let me find it written down in here somewhere. Where is she? I can't find her in there. So if you wanted to spell Florette Charlotte, this is how you spell her name, in case you wanted to look her up. And that's how you spell vendeuse. It's just the French term for a millinery sales assistant. There's a lot of French terms in millinery because it sounds fancier, doesn't it? Therefore you can charge more. Anyway, we'll get into money and hats in another live stream, I think. Not today. We'll save that for another day. Essentially, this is completely useless, this book. And if you want to learn about Balenciaga, I'm not going to go into this book in more detail because you can buy this one instead. This is an exhibition catalogue. And so there was an exhibition in Barcelona called Balenciaga, The Elegance of the Hat. And it was phenomenal. I did not get a chance to go to the exhibition, and the video that Matthew has just posted in the chat, I go through pretty much everything that's posted noted here about Balenciaga's hats. So we won't go through the pictures in this catalogue, but I wanted to show you the amount of history in this catalogue is condensed into not very many pages. I think there's about 10-20 pages of history here. Essentially up until, so from page 21 to page 46. Okay, so about 30 pages. 30, no, I don't know. My maths is bad. This many pages of history. And because Balenciaga was a very hidden figure, he didn't really talk much. He didn't want to talk to anyone. There's not a lot known about him. So what there is known about him, it's possible to get into these pages, and you do not need to buy this book, the bad one, which on the front page, rather, I found this hilarious. All this praise for this book, which I do not agree with. I really don't agree with this at all. This is the catalogue to get because you get beautiful pictures, in case you want to see details. You get all the details of the actual hats. You get a bibliography of the sources from the book. If you're a historian, you know how important it is to have a bibliography, and this is really, really useful because if you read something you like, you find it in the bibliography, you can go look it up and look into it in more detail. So if you are really interested in Balenciaga, this is the book for you. There is a way to get it. In fact, what I should have done is prepared and got the link from the library in Spain where you can buy this from. And if you do manage to find it by yourself and you want to order it, just make sure you're getting a copy of it in English, because the other language it comes in is Catalan, obviously, which is the regional language in Barcelona. So get it in English if you are an English speaker. Don't get it in Catalan because you won't understand it. But yes, this is a great book. What did I want to say for it? I do have my notes here, so oh yes, I've gone through everything. So okay, just Balenciaga is amazing. This catalogue is amazing. Oh, and also it was very professionally designed. So if you are one of those people who needs a book to be beautifully formatted, this has been typeset and designed by a professional graphic designer, and she is amazing. So her other work is really good as well, not just the catalogue. Next book. We're working through these very fast today. Next book is this one. It's not a biography, but I had to throw it into today's video because I didn't have it before London Hat Week. Because at London Hat Week, one of my lovely subscribers came up to me and she said, I've got you this book. And she was really hoping to see me so that she could give me this book, and I'm very grateful for it. So thank you so much. I've really enjoyed flicking through it, and I'm going to flick through it with everyone here. So this is, and please forgive my Italian, Il Cappello da Donna, Women's Hats. This isn't a biography at all. It's like another exhibition museum collection catalogue, and it has got some wonderful, wonderful photos in it. Oh, look at that! Isn't that stunning? And again, it's just like the Balenciaga catalogue where it's written here. Once again, beautiful pictures. So if you're looking for ideas and inspiration, this is pretty good. I haven't looked into if you can buy it or not, but maybe you've come across similar books like this, like little tiny books in secondhand shops or anything. If you see a book in a secondhand shop that speaks to you, you should buy it, because you don't know if it's out of print or not. I thought we should read a bit of the inside of the dust jacket so that we all learn what this is all about. A wide range of shapes and colours and an expression of creative elegance, providing an unusual illustration of the developments in feminine lifestyle during the years from 1880 to 1960. The hats, photographed by Francesco Panunzio, are nearly all from the Gaia and Peter collection belonging to Laura Morelli, heiress of a dynasty of stylists. Laura Morelli, heiress in a dynasty of sisters. No. I don't like reading books where they've got hyphens in them. I really struggle with hyphens. Stylists, which has reached the 4th generation. A brief, interesting glossary completes the book. It is indeed a glossary. I wouldn't call it brief. I'd say it's quite extensive. There's a very wide range of styles in this book. You get a little bit of everything, which is really nice. So it's not even like it has a theme. So themed books are lovely, but it's nice to have a variety of shapes to look at, especially if you're just starting out and you're looking for ideas. Books like this can be very, very lovely. Oh, Evelyn, that was you. Oh, thank you so much. So Evelyn has given me the book. She's in the chat. So say hello to Evelyn, everybody. Thank you so much. I have really enjoyed looking through this. Okay. Next book. I am very excited to share with you the next book. In fact, I'm so excited that I need to take a tea break first, because we're going to be reading a lot of excerpts from this one. Has anyone here heard of a milliner called Lily Dachet? Lily Dachet? Anybody? Americans, French people in the chat? Right. Lily Dachet was a French milliner who moved from Paris to New York and set up an exceptionally successful business. In fact, I didn't realize how business-minded and business-savvy she was, and I didn't think of myself as being particularly businessy until I read her autobiography that she wrote, and now, frankly, I feel inspired. Ever since reading this autobiography, I've been thinking about my future and maybe even opening up a physical shop. Oh my goodness, who knows? This is me thinking about 10 years into the future, but I have found Lily Dachet very inspiring. I haven't really looked at any of her hats, so weirdly, I've read her autobiography with no knowledge of pretty much anything visually that she does. I just, it was there, I read it. This was published in 1946. And this was quite difficult to find. This is the original book, and I've put it in a dust jacket to protect the cover. The cover is a lovely blue thing that looks like it's going to fall apart. Let's switch cameras and jump into some of my notes. Okay. Actually, let's just address a few bad things about this book before I go into the great things about this book, right? anything that was written in the mid-20th century is going to use mid-20th century language, and it can be uncomfortable. A lot of this book is written almost in a way of, oh, this man said this man said this, oh, my husband said that, oh, my business partner said that, or, you know, things like that, or, oh, women are ugly, we should make ourselves beautiful. And as a 21st century woman, reading something like this is very disturbing sometimes. Sometimes I had to read a chapter and then put the book down and go and watch an episode of Sex and the City or something just to reset my mind, because it was a bit much at times. So the main thing that I found really sad is that a lot of the entire way through the book, she goes on about how ugly she is. And that can be very uncomfortable, because she describes herself as being very slim, having slightly reddish hair, not, you know, just being really skinny and bony. And these days, obviously, if you look at fashion runway models, you'd think that's the silhouette everyone is striving for, but it's not. I mean, everyone just wants to look healthy. And I haven't seen any pictures of her. Actually, there is a picture of her. There's a picture of her in this cover. And I would say she just looks like a healthy woman. There she is. She's just a healthy woman. And I felt very uncomfortable with continuously being reminded that this very healthy looking woman thinks that she looks ugly. And the way she deals with looking ugly is putting on fantastic hats. Now, yes, hats are lovely. Hats are meant to make you look slightly different to how you look without a hat, but I disagree with her premise that a hat is going to make an ugly person look beautiful, because I disagree with the idea that there are ugly people to begin with. So that's my main problem with this book. If we ignore all that, it's very entertaining, and compared to the Balenciaga biography that I really didn't like, this one over here, this was so entertaining to read that I couldn't put it down. So I've taken this book with me everywhere continuously for the past month, trying to read it through for this live stream, and I've enjoyed it so much. In fact, there have been days when I've just gone to ride on the tube to read a book, because for some reason I can't read the book at home. So I go and I get on the tube and I pay my oyster fare and I sit on the tube and I just go up and down the Metropolitan line while I read my book, and then I go home because I can't read at home for some reason. Anyway, I want to read you some excerpts because these are really funny. But we're actually going to start with an excerpt where she is a little bit misogynistic, and or maybe not misogynistic, but just a little bit discriminatory. Maybe discriminatory is also the wrong term. She's a little bit... You'll see. Let me read it for you and you'll see. Alright, I've got to have my cup of tea. Okay. Here she is at her first job at Macy's Sales Training Center, which is, you know, the kind of hat college that the sales girls were sent to before they were allowed to sell hats on the floor of Macy's. And the tutor said, "What is a hat?" And Lily says, in her mind during the class, she says, "I could answer that. A hat is the expression of a woman's soul. It is something she wears on her head, but it belongs to her heart. It is her challenge to the world. She does not wear it to keep warm or to provide a shade from the sun, though it may do these things too." Up until that sentence, I completely agree with her. Then it all goes a bit south. She wears it to please a husband or sweetheart, or to get one. She wears it to make other women jealous, sometimes, and sometimes she wears it to get a job. Right, the making other women jealous, please don't do that. It's absolutely unnecessary to make other people feel jealous about how you're wearing. Why not just, you know, dress nicely because you want to dress nicely? You know, that's just how I think. Sometimes she wears it to get a job. yes, I have worn hats to interviews and presentations and meetings and places where people don't normally wear hats to get attention. And in fact, I found that if you are a woman in a room full of, let's say, housing executives, and you're one of the only women there, if you have a hat, they will pay attention to you than if you don't have a hat. So, I agree with her there. It is the keynote of her personality, the finishing touch that makes her look beautiful and smart and sure of herself if it is the right hat. I agree with all that, but I also think that, you can look beautiful whether you have a hat on or not. I could go on for hours about what is a hat, so I raised my hand, but the instructor did not stop for answers from the class. He went on smoothly. A hat is a crown and a brim. This I knew was not right. I totally agree, Lily. It is not right. So her experience here, I'm going to read on in a second, but I'm going to give you some context about how I understood this paragraph. When I went to do a millinery course, I felt very similar feelings about the content of this millinery course that I did, because it was very much this is the curriculum. You must make a hat that has a crown and a brim, and that's the only thing we are accepting as a hat, which I fundamentally disagree with, because if you've watched a lot of my videos, I really like turbans, I like callow half hats, I like visors. I pretty much like every hat that there is that doesn't have a brim. So maybe this is why I felt such a oneness with Lily in this book. She goes on to say, what about the hat that is just a gay decoration? A bunch of flowers, maybe, or a circle of jewels or straw or felt. You cannot say a hat is a crown and a brim any more than you can say a woman is a head and a pair of feet. There are many other things in between. So there we go. That's a flavour of how Lily writes, and it's quite entertaining. I want to point out a few more excerpts from this book. A few other things that I disagree with her with, actually. So this is the weird thing. I've read this book and I've been exceptionally entertained, but I fundamentally disagree with Lily's view on the world, and yet she still wrote it in such an entertaining way that I couldn't put the book down. She is obsessed with celebrities. She is obsessed with, she dressed this celebrity, this celebrity, this celebrity, and maybe I haven't dressed any celebrities, so I'm not obsessed. But I do have a younger sister who is also obsessed with celebrities, who cannot stop talking about this pop star or that pop star or this pop star. And I guess as a person, I just don't identify with that. I just see everyone as people, and their job is just, they're a film star or they're a pop star or whatever. But no, Lily is absolutely obsessed with celebrities. I decided I liked celebrities. They were easier to deal with than the people who felt that they must pretend to be important. They did not haggle and fuss. They knew what they wanted, and when they were pleased, they said so. I wonder if celebrity has just changed a little bit in modern context, because actually I find it's completely the opposite. If you look at celebrities now, they have no idea what they want. They have a stylist that dresses them. They don't tend to make these decisions. When you have celebrities who are getting dressed for the Met Gala or for the Oscars or for a red carpet event or something, or a film premiere or the Oscars or whatever, they will have stylists dress them, because if the stylists don't dress them, the celebrities don't know what they're doing unless they are fashion celebrities. That's just what I've noticed. I'm also going to just take off these post-it notes, because on a previous stream, I can't remember who it was, but someone was horrified that I'd post-it noted old books, but this is just me saying that, look, these post-it notes have been in here only for about 12 hours, because I made notes and I knew all the page numbers. But they're just in here and they're coming out straight away, so don't worry, the books are fine. 2 more excerpts and we'll move on to the next book. Oh yes, so she likes celebrities so much that she does a whole chapter on them. I mean, she also does chapters on how wonderful her husband is, and Don't get me wrong, I think my husband is wonderful too. He is there moderating the live stream and being tech support, so thank you very much, lovely husband. But I'm not going to devote, if I ever write a book, I'm not going to devote 2 chapters to you, my darling, as much as I like you very much. But Lily does that. And those were the chapters that I wasn't really too interested in reading. I kind of speed read those. Where have we gone through? Oh, the house that Hat's built. This is her chapter on building her own building, which in itself is very inspirational. Like, she was so successful that she made enough money from her hat sales to build her own shop that had several floors, and she lived above it in a luxurious flat. That's pretty amazing and incredible. However, it's at this point that her tone of voice changed in the book. My husband says, the whole world should dedicate chapters of books to me. Really now? If you say so, dear. Right. Yes, so this chapter, the house that Hat's built, this is where her tone of voice changes. She becomes very self-important. Now, I don't know if I ever made a ton of money from selling my hats, if I would also become self-important. I haven't had that life experience, but there are plenty of examples of people who make a lot of money and are not self-obsessed and are not self-important. But Lily starts giving off that vibe of, oh, look at me, look at all my money. And I think she completely loses her mind here, because in this paragraph, she talks about, apparently this is some old custom. I've never come across it. Maybe some of you have come across this custom. I have no idea what this is. But apparently you take a toad, a live toad, put in a box, and you put it in the foundations of your building. That's horrifying, absolutely horrifying. So she says here, day after day, I watched my foundations go up and felt happy about the ancient, wise little creature living comfortably below. I don't know how she could think that a toad trapped in a box could be living comfortably below the foundations of a building. Thankfully, she does go on to say that she was forced to tear the foundations up and get the toad out. Thank goodness for that. But that was quite horrifying. Another insight into mid-20th century sensibilities, and I'm very, very glad that I do not live any time before the present, because I don't think my delicate sensibilities would survive this. Let's end on a positive note for Lily's autobiography. This is a rather thrilling chapter. Maybe let's ignore the title. Once again, men. The men behind the hats. Ignore that bit. Just the last couple of paragraphs in this chapter are quite fun if you kind of read between the lines and ignore the fact that it's centered around men. This is about why a woman might choose a specific hat, which I'm sure was partially true for the time, but these days I would hope that women aren't choosing hats to please a man. But in this case, let's just read about the types of hats that were available in this time, in the mid-50s, mid-40s even. If a girl chooses a Watteau hat, her man is the sentimental type who wants her to look sweet and perhaps just a trifle wicked if she wears it at a flirtatious tilt. In case you don't know what a Watteau hat is, it's essentially like a plate worn on a side. Think of like a modern equivalent would be one of those cinnamon saucers with feathers sticking out. That's a Watteau. If she chooses a sports hat with a casual brim, her man is the type known as a good pal and desires her to be one too. So that's nice. If you choose a sporty hat, you're just a friendly girl next door. If she picks a sailor hat, her man is the conservative type. Most men like bonnets because the average man likes a girl he can baby. Oh, that's the bit that slightly creeps me out a little bit, so maybe I will never wear a bonnet again. The man about town who wants his girl to look like a subtle siren will like her best in a turban. I do feel like that describes my husband, because my husband does like me in a turban and I like to wear a turban too. And the southern gentleman likes his belle in a garden hat, big brimmed and laden with roses or daisies. It's even better if the girl has a lisp. The he-man likes his woman feminine and their hats to match. But what none of these men realise is that a hat is an optical illusion to make a woman look like what she isn't. That's Lily's take on what hats can do for women. I'm not sure I agree with everything that Lily said there, but it's nice to see a list of types of hats. It can give you an idea of where you might want to take your designs if you're designing for somebody. Right. There we go. That's the hardcore biographies done. I've got some Christian Dior left over here. And what I'd like to do is just take a very quick 2-minute break so that I can replenish my cup of tea so that I don't lose my voice completely, because last week I lost my voice and I wasn't able to record any videos and I can't have that happen again. So give me 2 minutes for my cup of tea. We'll meet back here. You might see a couple of adverts, but that does help support the channel. So thank you so much for sticking around. 2 minutes, we'll be back. I'm back. It would help if I clicked the right buttons on my software to flick between the cameras. So, where did we stop? I promised you some Dior because everybody loves Dior. Before I do the Dior, Amoria says, can't wait to purchase this book and read it for myself. It seems quite interesting. I think you're talking about the Talking Through My Hats by Lily Dashay autobiography. Most of the books are listed in the description box below, so you can go and have a look at those for the details and publication dates. This can be quite a struggle to find, so good luck. When I found this, it was in the kind of depths of the back of a Welsh bookshop online, so I honestly have no advice on looking for this other than Mr. Google. And I hope you find it because it is a really great read. Right, Mr. Dior. Who remembers a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, the massive, absolutely big Dior exhibition? Who here went to see that? I've created a poll. Let's see. I want to know who's been to see that Dior exhibition. It started its life in Paris. It came to London, to the V&A. I'm not sure if it's made its way to America. My American viewers in the chat, did it come to America? Let me know in the poll. So, yes, I saw that exhibition. In fact, I think I saw that exhibition 4 times. I saw it once in Paris. I saw it in Paris before I realised it was coming to the UK. I made a special trip to Paris. Can you believe how obsessed I was? I'm less obsessed with Dior now than I used to be 4 years ago, but it's very easy to obsess over Dior when you first start because Dior is very, very show-stopping. And then I saw it 3 or 4 times at the V&A, and at the time I had a membership, so it made sense to just keep going to see it while it was there, because it was such a giant exhibition that you could see new things every time you went. It was so long to go through it that you zone out at points, and so if you came back you could kind of go, oh, I don't remember seeing this, I must have zoned out. So had a couple of votes in the poll. I'm going to close it now. So 50-50, is it? How do I close the poll? Hang on. Has everything frozen again? End poll. Let's see. 50-50. 50-50 of you saw it. Well, and Evelyn says 3 times she went to see it. So if we were to do a tally of those of the 50% of us who've seen it, we've probably seen it more than once. Well, while I was there, I bought the catalogue. And you could say that this is more a kind of inspiration book than anything else, but I figured that I wanted to lump Dior into one big thing. So I've got this Dior book. Oh, and I've got this Dior book. And they're all big and heavy and coffee table books because, you know, they're Dior. They have to be fancy and big and coffee table books. So that actually makes them really, really difficult to read because you can't take them on the tube. And as I've already said, I seem to only be able to read on the tube. And I don't think I'm prepared to ride up and down the tube line several times while I have this heavy, massive book on my lap. It does have a little tiny bit of biographical things. It has some nice displays of letters and things from the exhibition. So you can, because Dior's biography was part of the exhibition, it's part of this book, but it's really not very much. If we're comparing it to the amount of Balenciaga biography from earlier, in the Balenciaga catalogue, there's a lot more Balenciaga biography in here than there is Dior biography in here. But that's okay, you still get all the pretty pictures. And the good thing about this book is, I mean, let's look at it as an inspiration book, is it gives you context for the hats, because, you know, we don't wear hats naked unless you're Dita Von Teese. You wear hats with a dress. And so sometimes when the hats are pictured, they are pictured with a dress. And I think I've bookmarked something here that I particularly liked. There we go, this kind of bumper beret style, which I really like. So that's the exhibition catalogue. You can still buy the exhibition catalogue directly from the V&A shop. So if you want pretty pictures, this one's for you. But then there's also this giant Dior book, which I have to confirm that I haven't read it cover to cover because it's one of these really obnoxious and weighty coffee table books. I wish they'd produce them small. Like this is a sensible book size. This is not a sensible book size. It's very pretty, but it very much isn't sensible. I also found it difficult to read. I did try and read it, but the type is so massive, it hurts me to read it. I'd prefer to read very small type, but wear my glasses while doing it. It's just easier to hold. This is written by Stephen Jones. or rather it's from Christian Dior to Stephen Jones. Sorry, it's not written by Stephen Jones. Who is it written by? Oh, it is written by Stephen Jones. Or is it? Sorry. 1 second, everyone. I thought I'd had the publishing information sorted. Clearly I've got it wrong. It's not written by Stephen Jones. I'm sorry, everyone. I need to update that in the description box. This is very valuable information about Dior's life, if you want it. There are plenty of documentaries on Dior, though, because he's so well known. So, you know, if you wanted to find out Dior's biography, Wikipedia is comprehensive enough if you wanted to know how he thought, why he thought the way he thought. And obviously, so much has been written about Dior's new look, and hats were kind of part of that. So, you know, you can go and read that on the internet. You don't need a book to learn about Dior. What I want to point out about this book is the way it is laid out, because this is really useful if you are a milliner for research purposes. I'm trying to find the contents. Where is the contents? Contents page. So again, you get the very big pictures, which is brilliant. I just really wish that maybe the text part of it could have been in tiny book format. It would have been so much nicer. I can't read when I'm sitting on the sofa. Okay, I can't seem to find the contents, but let me show you what is nice about the sections in this book. It's sorted into types of hats. You see, it's so big it doesn't even fit onto the table. So here you've got a chapter on le fête. My French pronunciation probably isn't the best. Then you've got a chapter on La Parisienne. And then you've got, oh, hang on. I should have prepped for this much better. It's just so big, it's difficult to maneuver it. There we go. Les grandes. So, the big hats. Then it's got the section on small hats, smaller hats, and what I really liked is that it turns out small hats are called le bibi, which is so fun. Les exotic hats, masculine hats, whereas the chapter on tiny hats. Tiny hats, where are the tiny hats? Nope, fête is party hats. When you're dealing with French people like Dior, it's good to know a little bit of French, because ultimately you're going to have a better understanding. These kind of sleek Parisian hats. Oh look, berets with veiling. These are in again, by the way. Fashion is very cyclical. Where are the tiny hats? Where are the tiny hats? La Belle. Okay, I can't seem to find that chapter on the other ones, but these are so stunning. The pictures. Look at that. Also, leopard prints about to go in. Oh, I have a question for those experienced people in the chat or in the comments. Can anybody tell me what on earth is the description for this hat over here, the material of it? It says Bauhaus cloche in leopard print colt skin. Can anyone tell me what on earth is a colt skin? I tried looking it up and Google did not have a good response for me, so I have no idea what a colt skin is. I've never heard of that as a material. I don't know if that's just a millinery term or if it's a fashion term. It looks kind of like, if I was to just look at the picture and not know, I would have said, oh, this looks like Salome fur, which you can't get anymore. So it's like a fur felt that's not quite a Melusine, which is very shaggy, but a Salome is more, it's brushed and it's more, it's not soft. It's like, how to describe this? If you are stroking a cat, sometimes you get the very fluffy cats who are like the Persian kind of cats, or sometimes you get the hardened street cats. When you stroke them, they're just a little more gritty, a little more grizzly. That's what Salome fur is like. I don't know how else to describe that. Yeah, so if anyone knows what a colt skin is, spelt C-O-L-T skin, C-O-L-T, skin. If you know what that is, let me know. I would love to know what that is, because that is a gap in my knowledge and I cannot find an answer to it. So there you go, Dior. I realise this is not the best book review live stream, because actually there aren't that many milliner biographies that I already had in my shelf. There are some other milliner biographies that I have since discovered, and I haven't had a chance to order them yet, and I haven't had a chance to read them, but I will continue doing that, and maybe next year, if this is still popular, I'll do another review of books. One last review. I've got my list of things to get through. So, this book, Hats by Madame Paulette. Now, with Madame Paulette, I'm almost the opposite to Lily Dachet. With Lily Dachet, I read her autobiography without actually looking at many of her hats. With Madame Paulette, I've looked at more hats than I have read this book. I just ran out of time. I'm sorry. I just figured, we could just have a quick look through this. It's got some wonderfully marvellous pictures. So what I can tell you about Madame Paulette is that she was very famous for her turbans. So if you want a turban reference, look up Madame Paulette. I will have to go through this book separately, and in fact I was thinking of maybe, if people want history, if you guys like millinery history, then maybe I could do a separate millinery history thing on Madame Paulette. And if you want some more comprehensive millinery history, if you scroll up in the chat, Matthew's already posted my Balenciaga history video. What I can show you with Madame Paulette is I have one of her hats, an actual vintage Madame Paulette hat. Let me put this on how it was intended to be worn, I think, and then we'll go through some of my alterations of this hat. So this is no longer a millinery book review live stream. This is now a Madame Paulette hat review live stream. So this is a genuine 1950s Madame Paulette hat, although is it? We'll get into that in a second. This is what's known as a skull cap, which means it's essentially a hat that doesn't have a brim and it covers most of your head. So let me swivel round. I won't be able to talk while I'm swiveling around because the microphone won't pick me up, but you can have a look at the back of this hat. I think that's very pretty. Let me take it off and we'll have a look at it close up on the camera. Oh, actually, before I do that, so I think the way I just put it on is how it was intended to be worn, but when I first got this hat, I decided it looked better on me like this, and to be honest, I still can't decide which way looks better. Do you guys think it looks better forwards or backwards? Bow in the front, like this, or bow in the back? I'm determined to prove to everyone that there's no such thing as rules. So, you get a hat, you wear it how you want to. Rachel from Le Bricolous says, seems like Madame Paulette and Lily Dachet were contemporaries in terms of when they were actively working. Yes, they were. So, they were both French, and I think Madame Paulette stayed in France, and Lily Dachet went over to America. Let's have a look at inside this. So, this label is why I said, is it a Madame Paulette hat or not? Because the label says, authentic reproduction, Paulette Paris, made in France by Lesser. So, I think that's Lesser, L-E-S-S-E-R-E with an accent. So what this is this was a licensed design, and I think this is quite a clever thing. I'm not sure if this still happens in the millinery industry. I know this happens a lot in fashion fabric, in the fashion fabric industry. This is a licensed design that was licensed out to different productions, to different factories, and said, okay, you have permission to make 1,000 copies of this design and sell them, whatever. But it is a Paulette design, so you have the bonus of financing your work by selling a design but not having the expense of making the hat. And the people buying the design have the bonus of being able to say, we made this, but it is a Madame Paulette design. So it's quite a nice way of distributing hats. I did resew the label. This label had previously been on this side where I've put the comb. And the reason I've put the comb here is because this is what I was wearing as the front. It didn't come with a comb. It also didn't come with the elastic. But the reason I've put the elastic in is, let me put this hat on how I would normally wear it. So back in the days before the pandemic, I used to go dancing. And when one dances, sometimes the music is fast and one turns their head very fast, so you can't have hats falling off. So I've got the comb in the front, which just kind of anchors it a little bit. And then in the back, you just saw me do it. I did it automatically. I meant to explain what I've done. See this elastic? Let me turn around and show you what's going on. Oops, sorry about that. Right, here's the elastic, and I'm going to wrap it round my bun. There we go. That's clever, isn't it? Or at least I thought that was pretty clever. And that means that if I was dancing some boogie woogie and my husband and I checked the dance floor and there is no one around because health and safety first, and we decided to do an aerial and I went upside down, my hat wouldn't fall off. So I still do that with all my hats, even though we don't really go out dancing anymore. But this is just a really good way to fix hats to your head. Now, there is a conversation to be had about, you know, this is a vintage hat. This is an authentic vintage hat. What are you doing altering it? Well, my response to that is, I bought this hat to wear this hat. I am not a museum collector, and also this hat is not rare enough to warrant being in a museum. It's not precious enough to be in a museum. I want to wear this hat, I want to love this hat, and I want to give it life. So it gets worn, and it gets worn how I want it to be worn. Now, to be honest, looking at this Petersham ribbon here, it looks a little sweaty and maybe just a bit disgusting. So I need to take that off and maybe put a new one in. So again, I'll refurbish this hat, because there's no point in having hats that are old and then they get grubby and then they get grubby and you don't wear them, because then they just die in your cupboard basically. But what's nice about this one is this octagonal net that's been made in a gold lame fabric. It's got some crystals and some pearls, and of course they've been glued on. So once again, if you're doing something like this, although I wouldn't probably stick these on with a glue gun. Rachel's saying lots of interesting things in the chat and I'm missing it all. Rachel says, that's brilliant, the design licensing. I think some of the super successful mid-century US milliners like Mr. John and Sally Victor did that in collaboration with department store chains. Yes, so I think this is a similar thing in this hat with this label. I haven't actually managed to find what Le Serre is. I don't know if it's a department store or if it's something else, but I suspect it would have been. So that's what this hat is. Anyway, Madame Paulette, alongside the Madame Paulette book that I've only looked at the pictures at, I'm afraid, so I can't tell you how it's written, but it's there, it exists, and incidentally, the back cover gives you a very good insight into her work. Right, well, I've come to the end of all the books, so I hope you guys have enjoyed it. So let's talk a little bit about what the next series of live streams is going to be, because I'm very excited about this. And before I tell you that, just please make sure that you like this video, because that helps this video reach more people. And if you'd like to see more of my videos, please subscribe and click the notification bell, because that will tell you when I post a new video. In case you don't get notifications, because some people have told me that they're not getting notifications, I tend to post every Sunday around 4 p.m. GMT, that's Greenwich Mean Time, London time. So that's when to expect something from me. And the next time you can expect something from me will be next Sunday, which is a video I cannot tell you about, so that will be a surprise, just in case it falls through, because it's something very exciting. But other than that, the next series of live streams, I have been working on restoring some vintage hat blocks. I went to a vintage hat block sale from the John Boyd's shop here in London, and some of those hat blocks were very, very old and very well used and very well loved, and they needed some care and attention and some love, and that's what I've been getting on with. I haven't quite finished, but once I finish restoring those blocks, there will be a separate video about how I restore hat blocks. Then after that, I'm thinking it's the winter season coming up. Lots of these blocks lend themselves to felts and things like that. So maybe we can block some felts and see how they come off the blocks. So I haven't yet decided if I want to block live and then unblock live, or if I want to just block live or just unblock live. I don't know. You guys tell me what you're interested in. If you'd like a preview of one of the blocks, husband, this is our favourite game. Husband brings the hat block. If you swivel around behind you, husband, there's that brim block that I've been chiselling away at all week. If you could bring it through, that would be great. And while he's thinking about doing that, I'm going to take a sip of water. Oh, and while we're waiting on the hat block, I also just want to say that Rachel has a video premiere coming up on a London milliner called, whose name was Madame Sheeter. So if you're interested in milliner biographies and things like that, go and check out Rachel's channel, because Rachel had a very long video about Madame Sheeter that I watched and I thoroughly enjoyed, and I'm really looking forward to Rachel's next install. Ah yes, there we go, Rachel's got a link to that video, so make sure you go and watch that as well. So before I sign off, here is a preview of the restored hat blocks. I know there's a hole in it, don't worry, I'm not finished with this one. This hole won't be there when you see it on the blocking live stream in a month's time. But this is a very old hat block. The top has been chiseled. There's reasons for that, which I will go into. But if you're interested in how on earth does one block on a block like this that is, ooh, double-sided block, then those live streams will be coming soon. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. It has been a wonderful Sunday afternoon. It's time for me to sign off because we've gone through my entire library now of millinery books. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, all the things that make sure that the algorithm knows that I exist. And if you want more of me and more of my content, I do have a Patreon page, the details of which can be found in the description of this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.